Thank you, Mr. President. Speak to the bill. Senator, has the floor. Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the body, it's a true honor to serve here. We come together based on our principles and our ideals and what we need to accomplish, not just for the people that we serve, but also because our ideals align with the people that we serve. And then when we come to this body and our ideals may be different, our goals usually are the same in what we want to accomplish, just different ways and different measures on how those goals could be accomplished. That's when we forge compromise. That's when we do things that the press reports as bipartisan. Principles matter. And this is yet another time that I've stood on this floor and professed my principles to you of why I'm opposed to the death penalty. And they've been articulated by others today, but it is my faith, my belief in life, that God has given us the wonderful gift. My father, before he passed away, he's the one that instilled me with these principles. He said, son, what's really going to matter, and what God is going to ask you at the time, is what did you do with the gift of life that I gave you? It's that gift of life given by God. And also then the power of death, which is God's power. Because I strongly believe that vengeance is not mine. It is for God to decide. And I certainly don't believe that a government should have that awesome power of God. Remember, Franklin, and I'm paraphrasing, and I don't have the exact quote, but Franklin said, government's ultimate aim is that it is the highest authority over the people that it rules, that there is nothing higher. The beauty of this democracy and even the religious freedom that we have is that government must understand, for those believers, that there is a higher authority, that it is not the highest authority in the land, not in our hearts or our minds or our souls. And the power that it wields when it wields the ultimate penalty of death, even for those who have committed heinous crimes, is an act of vengeance. For us humans, because we are frail, imperfect, feels good, if but only for a moment. But it solves nothing. It solves nothing except a lust for vengeance, which in my mind is a sin. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, not ours to have. And yes, we have evolved as human beings through civilizations and societies to the point, if we dial back 500 to 1,000 years, we were much more barbaric people. I was reading Captain Kendall when the senator from Eastern Fairfax was talking about the first execution in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the offenses that you could have been executed after he was executed as being a spy, were included stealing a chicken. We call it petty larceny right now. Fraternizing with the Indians. And people were routinely put to death. And the only dignity was if you were someone of high character or class, you didn't get hanged, you got shot. So even as far back as the beginning of our nation, as the senator from Eastern Fairfax says, we were coming out of a barbaric age in terms of how we treated life and death. Clearly, other things and other decisions they made at the time reflect that they were not matured in their thinking. We had not brought ourselves to the point where we're thinking the way we're thinking now. And someone said today on this floor, and those that may oppose the death penalty, who do we support more, the victim or the killer? I support justice. And supporting justice is supporting the victim of the crime, the victim's family of the crime, but also making sure that the system works and is right and does not make mistakes. That's why I proposed life without parole. If you're convicted of the aggravated murder, life without parole means life without parole. You're never going to see the light of day. If you're convicted. It also doesn't kill somebody, who then turns out to be innocent, because it does happen. It happens a lot, more than you think. We've talked about that before. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. The current bill in its current form provides for the ability of someone who kills under the special circumstances, which we know is the special circumstances of capital murder, which would now be aggravated murder, to be potentially set free at some point later in life. Because it gives the power to the judges. And then I've heard again on the floor, we should trust our judges. Well, I sit on this floor every day and I see people wanting to yank off their judges here, yank off their judges there, because they're not acting the way that we think they should be acting, which injects politics into it. Because those judges are reliant upon us to reappoint them. Would they be afraid that a sentence of life without parole in an aggravated case might bring the ire of one of you, so that when they come up for reappointment, you wag your finger at them and say, I didn't like that sentence you gave. You should have given them the opportunity for parole. So I'm not going to reappoint you, because they're human beings. They're frail too. They're imperfect. That's why the system is imperfect. The lawyers, like myself, we're imperfect. Me less often than the rest of you. But that imperfection creates an imperfect system. And so when we give that ability in an aggravated murder situation to a judge to sentence someone below life without the possibility of parole, then that imperfection is pervasive on both sides and doesn't protect the victim nor the victim's family. Let me ask you a question. If there was a person who is clearly proven beyond a reasonable doubt of the willful, deliberate, premeditated killing of a citizen of the Commonwealth during the commission of an abduction, after they had abducted them, and they had abducted them with the intent to defile that person, do you want them ever to see the light of day if they're convicted? Because the bill in its current form allows that. The potential of that is there. God, let's hope that there's a judge out there that says life without parole in that instance, but it's not for certain. That's why the substitute said life without parole means life without parole. Because also, too, if it turns out it was wrong, DNA evidence or some kind of other evidence exonerates them, then the government hasn't made the mistake that it can't take back killing an innocent life. But do you think somebody like that should be let go when they abduct someone with the intent to defile a child or anything like that? Murder for hire, you think somebody who does that should be let go? Anybody who kills a police officer, that's in there. You're okay with that. But what if they do multiple killings in the same transaction? Kill a whole family. You trust that judge enough that you sometimes like on the bench and sometimes want to remove on the bench, not to give any other sentence but life without parole? I don't. I don't. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before and I'll say it again, governments have gotten it wrong.